Welcome back to a Women Wednesday here on Liquid Lunch. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I am Fernando Uribe filling in for the great John Tobacco here on Liquid Lunch via Biz TV and Facebook Live. Folks, joining us right now and kicking it off on a Women Wednesday is the great and accomplished actress and model, Xen Sams, here on Liquid Lunch. Xen, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Certainly a lot in the news cycle, Xen, but something I really want to ask you here, obviously checking out pop culture, Kanye West is urging voters apparently to write in his name for president during, the first ad that he's put out during this 2020 cycle with less than 3 weeks to go. How impactful do you think Kanye West will be in some states when his name is either written in or actually appears on some ballots?
You know, even though he's only on the ballot in a handful of states, that's not stopping Kanye. He released his first campaign ad on Monday, and he was focusing on religion and family in this 82-second social media spot. It's unclear how serious he is about the presidential run. He has in the past been vocal in his support of President Trump. He previously indicated his spoiler campaign is designed to hurt Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden. Now he calls himself a Christian innovator and believes that the answer lies in religion. Bull poop is what I say. Kim Kardashian has not publicly reacted to the ad, and she shouldn't. She should stay far away from that. She has a lot of money to lose if this goes haywire for him, and it will. It's unclear what she really thinks about her husband running for president, but, they've been spending time together as a family after, seemingly being in the brinks of divorce just weeks ago. I mean, they were about to implode. Now they've been trying to spend time in places that are slower and more calm, like Colorado, so they can avoid the paparazzi. But, I think this is all a big campaign, and it's all to make a lot of noise. I don't think it's going to be impactful. The only thing I'm going to say is it's going to distract, and it's causing distraction, which is great, because any distraction from the Biden campaign right now, that's what we want. We want to make sure that all the forces are aligned for President Trump to win. And I think that Kanye West tooting his horn out there is only going to make it easier for Trump to take this.
You know what, Xen? That's a great point. And as we all know, in different states, especially in the South and Midwest, as you mentioned, a handful of states have Kanye West on the ballot. Do you ultimately, you mentioned it before about this could hurt Joe Biden's chances. Have you looked at any polling? How accurate is that? Like, do you think that could actually be a reality?
You know what? I don't look at the polls because they are bogus. I have learned very, the hard way over and over again that polls are not reliable, and the polling numbers and the numbers of statistics that are coming out, especially before the election, are not to be trusted, especially if they're coming out of the liberal left, which most polling numbers do. And then they have to get verified and cross-referenced by the right, and then they all fight about it. The bottom line is that polls are not reliable. You have somebody like Kanye West, who he has mental health issues right now. And honestly, he should be focusing on himself. He shouldn't be trying to put as much noise as he can out there, on the line so he can promote himself and whatever he has going on after this. He seems to be having more success selling 2020 merchandise than getting votes. He's claimed that he's made more than $800,000 from sales. So I think he should stick to his lane. And I think that this is just going to help President Trump because he's a big distraction to Biden.
You know what, Xen? Well said there. And I'll tell you, in a perfect world, how great would it have been to see a debate on the stage between Kanye, the president, and Joe Biden? I think that would have been pay-per-view-esque type of ratings. I think the buy rates would have been through the roof. Xen, let me ask you a little Hollywood news here. Apparently, Gal Gadot, obviously, as we all know, is great in Wonder Woman. She's been in the Fast and Furious franchise. Apparently, she's drawing some backlash because she's been named as the new lead in the Cleopatra film that's upcoming. Apparently, some of the backlash in Hollywood is why couldn't they find an actress with African roots instead of someone like do you think the backlash?
I am so angry at Hollywood right now for not even being able to get their facts straight. Okay, Gal Gadot's starring role in this new telling of Cleopatra was criticized on social media just as soon as it was announced, right? They plan to tell the story of the Egyptian queen in a way that hasn't been done before because it'll be from the perspective of a woman. And the most famous depiction of Cleopatra on screen, of course, is Elizabeth Taylor's take in the 1963 film. So some are arguing that Gal, who is Israeli, should not be playing the part. They argued that her background should disqualify her. Now, let me tell you, Samira Khan, Miss Journalist, very famous out there, said, which Hollywood dumbass thought it would be a good idea to cast an Israeli actress as Cleopatra, a very bland-looking one, instead of a stunning Arab actress and she named Nadine Jem. And shame on you, Gal Gadot. Your country steals Arab land and you're stealing their movie. Shaking my head. First of all, what a disgusting tweet from somebody who's supposed to be an accomplished journalist. For the record, Pulitzer Prize winning biographer Stacy Schiff, who wrote 2011's Cleopatra, A Life, has explained that Cleopatra was a woman who was about as Greek in terms of ethnicity and in terms of culture, and I'm Greek, in terms of education as you could be in that world. And it was a factoid that some already knew. So she didn't know Cleopatra was Greek, and she calls the stunning Gal Gadot very bland looking. Pathological hatred of Israel does strange things to people's brains. So some journalists, you are, Samira, boo-hoo.
You know what, Xen, you just hit out of the ballpark right now with that observation. Let me tell you this. It's interesting to me when liberals and leftists, whether it be in media or pop culture or Hollywood or even in government, are always about, discussing, we're the party or we're the side of tolerance and inclusivity because we defend women. No, you defend women when you want to. And I think that's the double standard that exists that turns off most Americans to pop culture and Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
It really is awful. Then let me ask you, though, too, obviously, certainly one of the reasons that Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation that's pending this week is so important. Apparently, it's being reported that the Supreme Court will be refusing to restore abortion pill restrictions. It seems like a really polarizing issue. I think that sort of transcends gender and transcends, socioeconomic lines. Any thoughts on this?
The FDA rules require a patient to obtain abortion medication in person from a provider, though the pill itself, prescribed only for abortions early in pregnancy, can be taken at home. So that's what we're talking about right now. Now, medical and advocacy organizations are pointing out that since FDA allows higher risk drugs to be provided through telemedicine, the argument is that this policy is medically unnecessary and puts both patients and providers at risk during the pandemic. So both sides of the abortion debate are closely watching the case for signals of how the Supreme Court could approach the issue after Ginsburg's death gave Trump the opportunity to shift the court further right. So you have some very conservative justices on the bench, such as Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas, who dissented, saying that the court have stayed. I'm sorry, did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that. Mm-hmm.
So that you have two of these very, Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas dissented, saying that the court should have stayed lower court ruling and reinstated the restriction on abortion pills. But on the flip side, in the 2 years since Justice Brett Kavanaugh joined the bench, the Supreme Court had largely avoided abortion cases before Chief John Roberts this summer joined with the court's liberal wing to basically strike down Louisiana restrictions on abortion providers. Now, here's the interesting part, Fernando. This law that could have been forced all but one of the state's abortion providers to close, granting a major victory for abortion rights supporters and signaling that the conservative court isn't ready to overthrow on the precedent on this divisive issue. The ruling angered conservatives through this Justice John Roberts opinion in the case that could basically lay the groundwork for the court to uphold more state restrictions on this procedure. So right now you have anti-abortion groups supporting Judge Amy Coney Barrett's nomination to the Supreme Court and hoping that a 6-3 conservative majority could basically curtail these abortion rights. But it's getting heavy-handed. And my point of view as a woman is 53-year precedent, Roe versus Wade, is not going to be overturned. And the liberal media is making the millennials and the Gen Zers believe that women's rights are going to be taken away, and they're making them fear this process, touting the finger to President Trump for nominating her. But the bottom line is, this is a clear case in where you see the left and the right within the Supreme Court. You have justices that are very liberal and very conservative at each other to make sure that both points of views are taken into consideration before laws are either stricken and or adopted. So this is proving to us that the Supreme Court and the foundations of the Supreme Court are grounded and predicated upon what America is. And America is great and democracy is great. And right now, the Conservative Party, the Republicans, did fill 29 seats that were left by the Obama group unfilled, and President Trump had no choice. So if they want to get on their A game and they want to, tout that what's happening with abortion rights is going to strip women of our rights, I think there's a fine line that we need to draw between human rights and women rights.
You know what, Xen, you said it perfectly. And one of the things that's really outstanding to me is your perspective, because listen, you said it just ideally. The idea and the scare tactics by the left, whether it's elected government or members of the media, that somehow, your uterus is in danger and they try to fundraise on this. It's absolute malarkey, as they say.
Yeah,
And then
and the Supreme Court refused to grant Trump's bid to restrict this action. So it shows that there's two sides here.
Absolutely. Xen, listen, thank you so much for joining us here. You're full of fire. Thanks for kicking it off here on Women Wednesday on Liquid Lunch, and we look forward to talking again soon.